It's Bob Dolomite here with YouTube news, drama, and more. Coming at you live. Coming in your direction live.
I read about did you say want to a 10-year-old with Down syndrome being taken from her mother?
You guys have seen what's been going on the internet, probably, haven't you? You saw my video, potentially, if you watched my channel, about the allegations and drama surrounding Gerard the Completionist, Carl, and my friend Mudahar. Basically, Muda and this fella Carl did an investigation into this other fella who's a gaming YouTuber in regard to the charity that he runs, the Open Hand Foundation. It had been raising money for a couple of years, but not a dime had been spent. Where's the money at? Where's the money, Lebowski?
Where's the money, Lebowski?
It kind of devolved and got a little crazy. There was no official response for a while from Gerard, aside from the interview that was in Muda and Carl's original videos. Then some more stuff came out involving a golf event, it was very strange. The main question people wanted answered was, why would you have a bunch of money that's supposed to go to charity that you've been saying has gone to charity, but then not actually send it to charity? That was the big stink, the big hoopla, the big deal. And finally, last night, Gerard went ahead and responded to the allegations and the situation as it's been. We'll go over his response first if you guys want to catch up. I implore you to watch Carl and Muda's videos on this. But this is insane, though. This is a absolutely bonkers situation that has made me very sad. And I can really honestly see both sides, but at the end of the day, this is you know, it's going to be odd. It's going to be a rough time for YouTube. Video opens up as you'd expect. Gerard says that it took a while to write up a response because he wanted to be as clear and concise as possible. Perfectly reasonable. That makes sense. This is a big deal here. It's $600,000 that's supposed to go to charity that a lot of people think this guy's just a charity scammer.
Over the past few weeks, allegations have been made against me, my family, and our charitable organization, the Open Hand Foundation, asserting charity fraud and more. I'm here today to provide clarity and transparency to set the record straight. I want to make it 100% clear. At no point in the Foundation's history was there any criminal or financial fraud. None. I also want to touch on why I've been quiet for these last few weeks. A lot of folks have been saying that if I didn't do anything wrong, that I should have said something sooner, or that my conversation with the accusers was considered my full side of the story. But when there is allegation after allegation being made, it takes a long time to gather the evidence and facts to refute claims. This will be my only video response on this matter.
He then goes on to state that as of Wednesday, November 29th, 2003, the Open Hand Foundation donated the $600,000 they were holding on to the Associate of Frontal Temporal Degeneration.
I can confirm that as of Wednesday, November 29th, 2023, the Open Hand Foundation has donated $600,000 to the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration. However, it did take too long to get to this moment, and for that, I am sorry.
He says he understands the mess he made by taking this long to donate it all, and he apologizes for it. He then tells the story regarding the Open Hand Foundation and talks about his mother's struggle with disease and the fact that she showed signs of this disease, a degenerative brain disease, when he was only 10 years old. She was officially diagnosed when he was 14, and she passed away when he was 25 years old. And the Open Hand Foundation was to be started in her honor. It's a classic case of charity. You lose a loved one, and then you try to do a good thing. You try to make the best out of something bad and do as much good as possible in honor of that person. It's happened a lot of times.
For more information on the donation, there will be a link down below that you can check out. Now, to further provide context on the Open Hand Foundation, my mother got sick when I was young. She was diagnosed with frontotemporal degeneration, a form of dementia that far too often goes undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. I was 10 years old when signs of her dementia started showing up. She was officially diagnosed with FTD 4 years later when I was 14, and she died when I was 25. My mom's battle with this disease lasted nearly 15 years, and after experiencing the struggles and hardships of caring for someone with dementia, we decided to start a foundation in her honor.
Now, in regard to the golf aspect of the Open Hand Foundation that was pointed out recently, he clarifies that he had never been involved with the event planning whatsoever. He said the most he ever did with golf tournaments was attend and sometimes give a speech. He says although he went on the record during the Indieland streams and claimed that money was going to places where people expected it to be donated by going through the Open Hand Foundation, he said that the Open Hand Foundation was in consideration and communication with different charities. He admits it was wrong for him to have made these statements without any financial actions being taken. He apologized to the charities and the people that donated.
I want to take this opportunity to apologize to any developers, publishers, content creators, and special guests who were involved with the various events. I'm also very sorry to this year's Indieland sponsor. Their team was incredibly supportive and were a great partner to work with. Most importantly, I want to apologize to anyone who ever donated over the years who felt they were wronged or led astray by any of this. Dementia is an incredibly important cause to me and my family and so many of you at home. Advocating for more awareness has been such an important part of keeping my mother's memory alive.
He also states, and I think this is pretty big, that he is stepping away from the Open Hand Foundation, and Indieland will no longer be a charity event.
As the Open Hand Foundation board is currently restructuring, I am taking this time to step away from my role as a board member. I am no longer a part of the Open Hand Foundation. For the foreseeable future, should the event continue, Indieland will solely be focused on highlighting indie games. There will be no charity component. I love helping the indie game community and working with developers. And if there are developers out there that want me to play their games, I would be honored to continue to do so.
Now, to be clear, I don't think anyone wanted Indieland to stop being a charity event, or I don't think anyone wanted Gerard to not raise money for charity. I think they just want him to donate the money to charities. And then that actually should be done. I think that's the big stink that was kind of caused here, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. He also seems pretty emotional in this video, which makes sense. This has been a huge deal over the last few weeks, and people have made him pay the price for the lack of transparency that they showed in running this charity. He then goes on to address the accusations from my good friend, Mudahar, by the way. So I'm obviously biased. I love Muda. I think he's a really smart guy who does his due diligence and investigates things in a thoughtful and reasonable way. A lot of people say he's just a drama channel. I'm just a fucking lame-ass news, drama, cringe channel, like realistically speaking. So to make it clear, I do not believe that Mudahar was dishonest in the reporting of this situation at any point. And I also don't believe that Gerard is being dishonest up until this point either. I don't think he would have communicated with Muda initially if he was, but we'll get into that. I think Muda had good reason to investigate and share his findings. And by the way, now the money is donated. And at the end of the day, that's what actually matters. Gerard starts to defend his position on why it's taken so long to donate the funds. Many years, by the way. He talks about the different kind of charitable donations that can be given.
You can see that when they check their organizations, they call themselves a Section 501c3 exempt private foundation. The problem with this is, according to the IRS, they actually have two designations, private foundations and public charities. Generally, organizations that are classified as public charities have an active program of fundraising and receive contributions from many sources, including the general public.
There are generally two types of donations, unrestricted and restricted donations. Most donations are unrestricted in nature. By being unrestricted, donations can go to anything: research, administrative costs, travel expenses, salaries, or bonuses. Doesn't matter. Unrestricted donations come in the form of a donate link on a website, maybe a Twitch stream, or even a telethon. The Open Hand Foundation raised funds in an unrestricted manner with the intention to restrict a larger donation towards dementia research. Larger restricted donations ensure clear measures and direction, but can take time, whereas unrestricted donations are often instantaneous and not tracked. This is one of the big reasons as to why the donation took so long. The organization did not raise enough money to make the impact that would allow the funds to be restricted and avoid those high admin costs.
Gerard wanted the Open Hand Foundation's money to go into a restricted donation to be used very specifically for research and actually making an impact in this problem that he holds so closely to his heart. That, to me, makes perfect sense. He didn't want the money going to pay salaries, admin fees, travel, etc. The charities, on the whole, are very bad at delegating money and actually using it properly. Anything that doesn't make a profit runs inefficiently, it seems like. Especially the government. On the nonprofit 501c3.org website, you can see more information about restricted funds. Once money is restricted, that restriction is permanent. The funds cannot be redirected to other purposes. Even if the budget picture becomes bleak, boards can be sued by donors for misuse of such funds. You know, you have power. You maintain power over the money you donate. That makes perfect sense. That's awesome. And honestly, that seems like the best way to do charity. That seems like the best way to run a foundation like this. Make sure that everyone's money's actually going for the research that it is intended to be going for. On the same website, it also shows that these restricted donations can be a challenge to deal with. This offers merit to what Gerard is saying in his video and potentially shows a reason as to why they've had to hold on to the money for so long, because it's very difficult to deal with. Maybe the research foundations don't want to accept the money due to the restrictions. I'm not exactly sure. These gifts can be a challenge to deal with. It's like Mr. Beast giving an impoverished family of 4 a Cadillac Escalade that they have to pay taxes on. Has he done that? Because if he hasn't, I think he should. And I think he should film it and upload it. I would love that. Just kidding. So this is all well and good and offers a lot of credibility to Gerard's claim, but it does not excuse his lack of clear communication with his audience and basically everyone who has grown to care about this over the last couple weeks, thanks to Muda, by the way, and Carl, the other fella. But more specifically, the audience that is implicated in this, the one that has been donating money to this foundation for the last 10 years, with the understanding that their money has been going to charities, not being held in a vault, depreciating, because that's what happens to money when it just sits there and there's no sort of interest being gained. You just lose money every single day. I've heard numbers as high as 20% being lost of the overall amount donated just because of the time wasted. I think it's safe to say that nobody who donated money wanted to wait such a long time for the money to actually be used, and it only gets used when another YouTuber calls this man out to donate the money. I don't think anyone wanted that to happen or wanted that to be the case. He also brings clarity to the amount of money raised this year because there is no tax filing recorded yet. He shares that in total, Indieland raised $64,315 plus a $15,000 sponsor donation without calculating subs, bits, super chats, merch, etc. He also says production costs for this year are around 12 grand. And then he says that some of the uncalculated subs, bits, the funds that were kind of coming in randomly were used to offset the production costs. I'd also like to bring up the fact that he was community noted on his tweet, which is, that's not good at all. That's not good at all. The community note to his tweet says, Gerard said all bits, super chats, etc. would go to Open Hand and that we're not touching any of it. He now says these sources offset production costs. There are several other contradictory statements in this response. The included link goes over them in detail. There are a lot of contradictions. We'll be getting to that. I'm just trying to be as unbiased as possible and reasonable. I'm sure you guys can see, I feel like I was kind of biased in the first video because Muda's my very good friend. But at the end of the day, the money has been donated. So now it's all about who is being honest and who is being truthful and what the public opinion is after this point. That's what I'm interested in sorting out here. And so far, it looks pretty damn good for Gerard, to be honest, this far in the video. Aside from the community note and then the whole saying the bits and all that stuff. But if you just watch it, you'd be like, oh, okay, it's, it's baller. But if you, actually like really paid attention to the whole story, you'd see, oh, here's a inconsistency. We'll get to it again. Now on to probably one of the most sad parts of this entire situation is the direct involvement of Gerard's charity with the death of his mom. So like this is one of the reasons why I want to try to be as unbiased as possible, because I cannot use empathy to understand what this must feel like from his perspective to just be, how wronged you have to feel, especially if you believe you are in the right here, when this whole thing is just in honor of his mom. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously he's not using the money to fucking buy cars and shit. Clearly. There's a lack of transparency, very obvious, but it's a complicated and very sad situation. And in his response, maybe to prove his genuine intentions from the very beginning, he shares that after his mother died, her brain and spinal cord were donated to researchers, and he shared paperwork confirming that donation. And that's just wild. That's just such a crazy thing to do.
When my mother passed away in 2013, we donated her brain and spinal cord to the same academics and doctors we worked with to further advance their research. There's a link in the description to her autopsy report that confirms her brain and spinal cord were both donated to science.
He also links an audit of the Open Hand Foundation that took place in 2016 of the 2014 tax year to show that the IRS is pretty chill with all this stuff. So we have Gerard sort of trying to set the tone and show that he was genuine from the very beginning. And I do believe that he seems genuine in my opinion. Now he goes on to call out creators and influencers. He says that everyone that called him a fraudster or what they're doing with the charity is illegal and constitutes his charity fraud, or for people going as far as saying that he's been using his mom's name to embezzle money, all that is categorically false. He does agree that he should have been more transparent, but also that his family has never and will never do anything illegal. He says that all these allegations were made by individuals who self-admittedly are not financial or legal professionals, and that these allegations are slanderous, and he believes the allegations were made with selfish intent.
I want to stress that not a dollar raised from Indieland and its supporters was ever used on anything to personally benefit me, my family, or any of our companies. We never touched this money nor ever moved it. As evidence in the public documents, no one at the foundation has ever drawn a salary. Saying that we are fraudsters, that what we are doing is illegal and constitutes charity fraud, that we are using my dead mother's name to potentially embezzle money and steal is categorically false. I should have been more transparent about the money not being donated, and that's on me. But my family and I have not done anything illegal, not before then and not since. And as mentioned previously, we have correspondence from the IRS to prove that. Furthermore, my family and I are in serious conversations with our legal teams regarding next steps, as the allegations that have been made with complete disregard for the truth of the matter.
So I know Muda pretty well, by the way. If you don't know his channel, it's Some Ordinary Gamers. He makes a bunch of videos. He's a very good guy. And personally, from how long I've known Muda, which has been for years, I do not believe his intent was selfish. I think he saw a decade-long running charity that is in the same community that he's in, the YouTube community, and I think that he saw that that charity, in spite of raising a lot of money, none of it had actually been used for the research that it claimed it had been using the money it was raising for. I mean, what the f? So he dug into this. And by the way, his coverage ultimately led to the money being donated, which in my opinion is a net positive. I don't understand how that would necessarily be slanderous because the money's donated now. But at the same time, I mean, the interpretation from Gerard of what was originally said, I could see how that would be something that you would want to sue over. Do I think it holds up in court? Probably not. I'm not a fucking legal expert, but Gerard did donate the money after Muda's video and Carl's videos. So seems like there was obviously something there. I mean, he seemed like he kind of owned up to the initial problem, which was the fact that there had just been money sitting there for years that was being said was donated and then wasn't, and Muda and Carl like explodes that, and then now the money's donated. I just don't really see what the point is, how you could ever believe that that's defamatory. It's a net positive. Like, why would you want to drag that in any more of a selfish direction, to be honest? I do know Muda. I do not know Carl. I know people are mad at Carl for putting an ad in one of his videos, and you know, I can't speak on that. I don't know. That doesn't seem exactly appropriate, but at the same time, I don't know the situation. Gerard also then claims that these evil influencers have jeopardized the safety of himself, his staff, and family, and that's not okay. He restates that the Open Hand Foundation has been accused of forgery, embezzlement, and charity fraud.
These allegations were made by individuals who self-admittedly aren't even financial or legal professionals. These allegations are slanderous, and we believe were done with selfish intent. They have directly jeopardized the safety of me, my staff, and my family, and that is not okay. I want to reiterate and specifically address that both the foundation and I have been accused of forgery, embezzlement, and charity fraud. The allegations imply the foundation forged tax returns because they weren't physical signatures on them when we e-filed them, or that we altered numbers to hide income or expenses. We can account for every single dollar received and spent in the last 9 years. We do not have anything to hide. And due to the overwhelming amount of people who have been instructed to file complaints to the IRS and Department of Justice, We understand an audit may be coming, and we welcome it.
And we'll never know if any of that is actually true, if any of those allegations were actually true until there's a real third-party investigation and an audit. So, like, we can't just take Gerard's word for it. But at least the money's been donated up until this point. Now, I mean, he's trying to be transparent. It seems good, right? But at the same time, this has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Gerard then states that he believes that content creators and influencers should be held accountable when faced with serious accusations and allegations. However, the narrative can get out of control when the court of public opinion supersedes actual factual information. He then states he will not let his reputation be compromised by allegations that just aren't true, and he will not be painted as a con artist. That's completely fair. That's a completely fair hill to stand on there.
Content creators and influencers should be held accountable when faced with serious allegations. However, the narrative can get taken so far away from the truth that the court of public opinion supersedes fact. I recognize and take accountability for all of my actions. At the same time, I am not going to let my reputation be compromised by allegations that are not true. I own up to my part in this, but I will not be painted as someone who is a con artist and embezzler. I won't be someone whose name gets tarnished without putting up a fight. I owe it to my friends, my family, and myself to stand up to this situation right now.
And ultimately, in his response, he condemns the accusations that he's a fraudster or that there has been any kind of charity fraud. He also condemns the sentiment that he would use his past mother's name for financial gain. He also says that the money was never missing and that the money was not used to fund any of his or his family's projects. So there was never a need for them to float any missing funds. So that's the gist of Gerard's response. Pretty long response. It seems genuine to me. To me, he does not seem like someone who's trying to manipulate anybody. It seems like he genuinely believes what he's saying. And honestly, it's a pretty good response. But there are inconsistencies, unfortunately. And we'll get into those, but we'll also get into the community response, which was 50-50 split. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It seems like it was like genuinely 50-50. Asmongold, honestly, one of the best sort of takes on this, said that at what point does gross negligence or incompetence become fraud? I mean, if it has the same outcome, at what point does it become that thing that is illegal? And then here's him making a graph showing when incompetence crosses the threshold into fraud.
This is a chart, and we're going to do it just as a little visual aid for everybody who doesn't really understand this. Okay, so at a certain point, fraud is a baseline, isn't it? And then we have incompetence and mismanagement. And at a certain point, it reaches this, which is called gross incompetence, at which point you are liable. And I think that functionally, defrauding people and being this grossly incompetent are the same thing.
Your Honor, my client pleads whoopsie daisy. By the way, I don't like this situation at all. I don't like what's going on with this stuff. I'm glad the money's donated. The threat of lawsuits and shit, the money's been, I feel like this should just be, you know, figured out. This should just be handled. I don't think there's any need for a defamation lawsuit. I feel like this situation can be worked out and we can have a massive positive spin on it and do something cool, because at the end of the day, the money's been donated and there can be a lot more money raised for this cause just through all this attention. Like, I don't know. Initially, the response to Gerard's response was quite positive. There were a ton of people, a lot of them his friends and people in his community specifically, that were coming out in support. Gerard is a good person who doesn't deserve the punishment he received for his mistakes. I do agree with that, how one could see that, right? Because the punishment, the court of public opinion, always goes a lot further than intended by the original source, which is Muda and Carl's videos. I think they just wanted to know what happened to the money, and now we know. I can see that. I know Jawad, and he's a good guy. Everyone can make mistakes. Move on. Based on Red Pilled. The money's been donated. Let's move on. I know it's good to take the high road, but those two assholes who took a shot at Gerard need to be dragged until there's nothing left. Oh, what? But the money got donated, though. What do you mean? What do you mean, bro? The money, you don't like money being donated? I know I will be slandered for this, but I do believe this is a redemption for Gerard, and I do believe in second chances as much as I want to see it through. For me, I take these answers, and to me, answered as much as one request I can say to be better. That is all as much most of the part of was a PR move, but I still believe in change of Gerard, and what the f is that? Please, for the love of God, before replying to this video, please watch it. True, Omni. Very well said. I'm watching this, and based on the comments, there's a good case for slander. I watched the whole thing, and there are comments that where people obviously didn't watch. I feel this thread itself could be used as evidence based on some comments. What are these people saying? Everything explained here makes sense from a legal standpoint. I don't fault you for taking your time to make sure everything was thoroughly addressed. I accept the apology. Very positive in response to Gerard, especially on Twitter, but he got community noted, which is bad. And then the inconsistency started to come out, and Muda responded, and it does not look good, man. It does not look good. People are kind of back on the side of criticizing him. I hope this doesn't go into court and become something horrible and dragged out and just an overall net negative for the world, in which right now it is a net positive. Shoo, I really think taking the high road is a good idea, to be honest. I think it's a fucking good idea. I did it. Some guy fucked me over for more money than this involves, and I didn't fucking ruin his life. Well, I kind of did. But not in court. This is after the Muda swing. The clips Muda showed in his video response to Gerard were brutal. How can Gerard claim he potentially misled people when what he said during Indieland directly contradicts what he said in his response? He also said Muda and Carl pushed him to fix this, but now wants to sue them? That's a pretty good, solid gist of how I was feeling when I saw Muda's response to Gerard's response. Wowzers. You got a Keem take that's just screamed, so I'm gonna scream it. Dude raised money for a cause since 2014 and did not send the money to the cause till 2023? And replies are people defending him? You people don't have an IQ worthy of respect, honor, or truth. You deserve to be scammed. I didn't see that part. During that whole response video, not once did I hear a succinct explanation from the completionist about how the he, as someone putting his name and credibility to this charity, didn't check once in 10 years that the money had been donated to its proper recipient. That is so fucking absurd, dude. It is so absurd. It really is. Oh my God, this one's fucked up. This one's really fucked up, but it's funny, so I'm gonna put it in there. This one's slanderous for sure. I do not endorse this in any way. When you have to donate your retirement fund that you pretended to raise for charity, that's so fucked up. That is so fucked up, dude. Oh my God, that's so fucked up. I did not believe that, but that's funny. That gave me a good chuckle. Apparently, also, someone in Gerard's family was having a meltdown on the completionist Reddit and implying that he was going to sue Muda and Carl and Gerard. I don't know, dude. I don't know. This just doesn't seem good. He's calling them sheep and then deleting their comments. Very strange. Now we get to Muda's response, which, in my opinion, is a bit bigger than Gerard's response. A bit more concise than Gerard's response. Muda points out that Gerard's choice of words potentially misleading in regard to the statements he was making for the Open Hand Foundation and donations and the status of those. He shows that doesn't exactly make sense when compared to the statements on the record. They're not potentially misleading. They are directly, like, actually I don't understand how this could be interpreted in any other way than it being misleading. Not just potentially, but like actually misleading.
He mentions that the statements that he was making in regards to the Indieland fundraiser, when he was up there talking about, yeah, we work with so-and-so organization, yeah, we're so-and-so's funding partner, these were potentially implying that donations had been made when they had not yet been. That is legally speak, and that is you literally trying to downplay actual misleading claims, which is where we looked into charity fraud as a definition. Again, I want to reiterate, charity fraud, according to the legal match definition that I have over here, says that when someone takes advantage of a charitable or nonprofit organization for their own personal gain. Fraud is defined as intentional deception or misrepresentation made for personal gain. Defrauding a charity can be anything from falsely claiming to be a victim of a disaster in order to get money from a charity, or stealing donations from the collection tin. Fraudulent activity can also occur when the people make dishonest or inflated claims about how much money they've raised or how much it helps the cause.
It's pretty damning, in my opinion. That's not good. And honestly, stating that it's potentially misleading is misleading in and of itself. Muda also makes it clear that that's that's one of the main reasons they investigated, because of the downplaying of misleading claims. It's one of the original reasons why they even looked into the alleged charity fraud in the very beginning. Muda then in his video shows the legal definition of charity fraud. I think he did this in the first video too, and it shows word for word: pretending to be a charity or falsely claiming to be affiliated with a legitimate charity in order to solicit donations. And the pretending word, that's not good. If he was actually honest during Indie Land, there would be no issue, according to Muda. Muda also points out that Gerard said that he was working with charities and in communication with them, but did not at a single point prove that in his original response. No email chains, nothing that could show, hey, yeah, in 2017, when I mentioned this during Indie Land, I was actually talking to this group, and we were, almost there, but we kind of, the restricted gifts was too complicated for that specific research foundation. They didn't want to accept the donation. There was nothing. Like, there was nothing at all. There was no real proof or receipts. So looking back, I feel like a fool believing that it's genuine. No, I still think that Gerard's response was genuine. It's just starting to slowly fall apart at the seams here, thanks to Mudahar. Muda makes a claim towards Gerard about the portion of the call where Gerard says that Muda and Carl were part of the major reason that they wanted to move the money.
This new narrative doesn't really work when Gerard refers to us in that call, and this is a clip you've never heard yet, where he refers that we were one of the primary reasons the money needed to be moved and why they were looking at moving the money as quick as they did. You don't believe me, right? I have a receipt right here. Listen to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So as of now, the money, as far as your understanding, that $660,000 roughly is still sitting in your, that charity account, waiting for a benefactor at the right time.
As of this week, we've been having conversations about moving it as early as today or tomorrow, just because the pressure I got from you guys, if I'm being quite honest.
Muda then makes a final, just extremely damning claim, not even really claim, he shows a receipt of the original call that him and Carl had with the completionist, where Gerard literally says that they are a major reason that they wanted to move the money and get it all donated. You can't, that hadn't been released up until this point, and that's pretty bad, dude. That looks really bad. I would like to know what else is in that call, because it does make Gerard look pretty fucking bad, and that's unfortunate. I actually went and watched some of his videos after all this happened, and I was like, oh, this guy's pretty awesome. I like this guy a lot. I'm just really dumb. It seems like I'm just really fucking stupid. Go ahead and check out Muda's video. He makes great content. He's an entertaining dude. And also check out Gerard's response as well, and think for yourself. What do you guys think? Do you think Muda's a bad guy? Do you think he just did this selfishly? I don't understand, honestly, how you could believe that, because now there's $600,000 that went to, research. So, and it should be, it's like he's directly responsible. Gerard even said that. It's pretty wild. It's a pretty wild situation. But at the end of the day, I think something good's going to come out of this. I really believe, I believe that, or hope at least. And I hope that this does not devolve any further, because it seems like Muda has a lot of receipts and Gerard really doesn't. So unfortunate. I'll go ahead and steal one more thing from Muda's video. The end is legendary. It is him just sitting in an office chair with a fucking AR behind him. I assume it's an airsoft gun because he's in Canada.
I don't care if I'm like a villain,
funny.
or you want to paint me as a villain or a bad guy
But look at
because
this.
I looked into this situation. You can fucking puff your chest out all you want. But if being the bad guy means putting somebody like you to task and making sure that this donation even happened in the first place, and now people who were suffering from Alzheimer's finally have some extra gas in the tank to fight the debilitating condition that they have, then I guess if that makes me the bad guy, goddamn, I guess I'm the bad guy. I mean, it doesn't really, rip away sleep from me.
I don't think it does. I think Muda is incredibly genuine. And he even states later on in the video, which I'm still stealing from, that there was no malicious intent, and he just wanted to make sure the money had been donated. So now my conclusion, my thoughts. I think that on all sides there is truth to everything, even if it's just a little bit. Everything that both of these men are saying, and Carl as well. I think they all believe what they're saying, and I think they all believe that they're doing the right thing. I think Gerard shouldn't run a charity, and I think that Muda's a good guy. Do I think Gerard's a con artist? No, probably not. Do I think that Muda and Carl should have never reported this situation and gotten this man labeled as a con artist if they actually did? No, I think they definitely should have reported on it, honestly, because now the money's donated. I think Gerard fucked up, and he did admit to fucking up, and the money's been donated. End of story.